So my name's Ned. I'm the co-founder of Tweaky.com, and we just launched our site the other week. And today I'm going to run you through, I guess, a little bit of the backstory about how we came to be and how we secured funding and launched and did all that sort of stuff. And it sort of follows this idea that new ideas are generally sort of unpopular, that is, until they're not. And that's something that I think that we've experienced through the life of our startup, that people aren't really into it. I think as web developers, as I was involved in that web development agency, often you're trying to sell new ideas to your clients, or maybe you're trying to sell new JavaScript techniques to your boss, and he's not really into it, and that's for a variety of reasons, and I think the message is have faith. So I'm the founder of Tweaky.com, which is a marketplace for customizing websites. So the idea is that you want to make a small tweak to a website or a WordPress theme or something like that, rather than either hiring a local web developer. I'm sure you guys could all fix these things yourselves, but rather than going to a local web developer or putting it up on an existing outsourcing marketplace, we've created a way or a place for people to make small changes. But before this, I ran a digital agency called Native Digital, which is still around, still existing beyond me. And we did things like, we built an iPhone app that if you'd been shaped, if you'd run out of broadband for the month, you could play a game of Pong against the call center, and if you won, you got a free gig of data. And then we built this thing called Fan Bomb. It was another unpopular idea at the time, which is it's basically a social media flash mob. The idea is you get 10,000 people to agree to send a tweet at exactly the same second, and then you do. And that's what it says in the box. This is something that we'd always hear at Native. We'd go around and talk to different brands and agencies and things like that, and they'd say, look, we want to sell this product, we want to do something really innovative and digital and amazing and fantastic, we want to win awards like we see our friends doing overseas. Bring us this thing, and we go, great, and we put together a proposal and we'll come in and pitch them, and then they'll go, this is fantastic, we really love it, but can you show us where somebody's done this before? Guys, yeah, sure, we can. It doesn't really work quite like that. Like, we can tell you the thinking behind it and that sort of thing, but until you kind of need to take a risk on these things sometimes. It's not always just going to be, if you want it to be genuinely innovative, if you want to do cutting edge or bleeding edge sort of creative things, then it hasn't been done before. So agency life is a lot the same as startup life, except that with startup life, agency life, I guess, startup life is different in that you're pitching, collaborators, you're pitching to employees and customers and potential partners, investors and things like that. Those are the people that you've got to show your unpopular idea to and hopefully win them over that this is the way to do it. And while, no matter, even if somebody hasn't done this before, preferably if somebody hasn't done it before. So originally when we started, the Tweaky story starts about 12 months ago, maybe people 12 months ago, when I originally came up with this idea for a way for many people to be working on a CSS solution for a website. And so the idea was that you just want to fix a little bug, or there's something you want to change about it. And so I worked out a way that you could actually do this, and so I went and pitched this at Startup Weekend, and the room was as quiet as this room is right now. Everyone was like, cool, nobody cared about it, or maybe nobody understood it, I didn't explain it well enough. But somehow, the way that Startup Weekend works is that you have to get voted up to sort of go forward to actually keep working throughout the weekend on your idea. And nobody wanted to join my team, and we didn't get the popular vote, but we still sort of kept at it, and I managed to cobble together a team, including my co-founder PJ's at the back. Through the weekend, we worked on it, and we ended up turning it into 99 designs for WordPress. Equally quiet room. Except we were lucky enough that we were able to convince a few people that this was actually an idea. We had a pretty polished pitch, and we built a little demo that sort of people seemed to like. We managed to win the Startup Weekend. 99 designs for CSS and 99 designs for WordPress is actually a terrible idea. A lot of people didn't even like it then, but we got better. And as we sort of went along, some people started to sort of like the idea. We then turned it, we tweaked around, we pivoted around, we ended up with the Odesk for WordPress. We want to be an outsourcing solution, just focus on WordPress sites. not a big market, but a few people sort of got, hey, you're working on something interesting and you're heading in the right direction. The people that mattered to us were the people that sort of gave us the feedback that they actually liked what we were doing. Now this is funny because it's kind of really obscure. I don't know if anyone knows what Zali is. So Zali for WordPress, and trying to pitch it like this is always going to be an unpopular idea. Zali is kind of like TaskRabbit, so it's about doing small jobs in your local area. They're kind of big in some parts of the US. They came out of Startup Weekend, San Diego, I think. So the idea is if you want to get like your ironing picked up, or you want to get some small job done in your local area, that you put it on Zali and they'll match you to some guy who'll come around and mow your lawn. So we're like, cool, how about we do small jobs for WordPress? And some people were like, yeah, okay, kind of getting into the idea a little bit more, a little bit of a bigger market. And then this is, I guess, when we sort of finalized things and got to a point where I guess we were sort of, pitching to customers and starting to hit we're Zali for websites, which is a terrible, terrible pitch. But look, we do it for every single website. I'd go out there, when we were Zali for WordPress, I'd go out and talk to people like my family and say, hey, we do small changes to WordPress. And they'd be like, what's a WordPress? And we're like, oh, it's like kind of like a website, but a really specific type of website. They're like, oh, okay, I don't think I have one of those. And then you talk to them and go, oh no, your website is WordPress. Like most websites are, 50% of the internet that has a CMS is WordPress sites now, apparently. And so when we sort of broke that out and broke that shell down, we were able to pitch this idea, and it turned into Twiki, which is the marketplace for website customization. And we launched. But a week before we launched, I was sort of going around talking to people and pitching them and telling them what we were doing, and a lot about startup brethren and fellow web developers and even people that we sort of talked to around investment and things like that, still didn't really like what we were doing, and nobody really got it. We're sort of getting people who tweet us and shit-can the idea, or we just get air pie again, like the silence of this room. And it wasn't really until the idea actually kind of got a bit popular, until we actually launched, until we got a bit of other people saying, giving us that validation that other people saw that what we were actually doing, which was incredibly unpopular, was actually kind of a good thing to be doing. We had guys like Jeffrey Zeltman say, the perfect service for the harried small business owner who needs to make one or two quick adjustments to existing websites. And Tweaker.com is a great idea, a big gap between a redesign and a tweak. And it was really validating to have this idea. In fact, even a few days, even a couple of weeks before we'd even launched this thing, Tom Howard, who's here tonight from Adiosa, who talked here a couple of weeks ago, was like, "What are you guys doing? Are you really going to work on this thing?" But now that it's sort of out there, like one, we've been able to articulate a little bit more so that people can understand the concept. We had faith in ourselves that we could actually turn this into something great. That we're heading in the right direction of something where there's a real problem in the market, which is that if you've got a website, you want to make small changes to it, it's very hard to find somebody that can offer you that solution. So yeah, I guess we'll get to that. So I guess the end sort of thing, I guess, for everyone, whether you're a web developer or you want to do startups, or you're working on startups right now, and you're doing it, you're trying to sell on popular ideas, whether it's trying to convince a client that they need to actually be doing a mobile solution or thinking about a mobile solution, and now that they've got an iPhone app, now you need to be looking at Android. That's actually a huge part of the market that you're missing out on. Is that by having faith and by working on your ideas and continue to work on them and develop them, that even though your idea might have been unpopular for a while and will be really unpopular for a while, and we're probably not, we're still unpopular, it will get to a point where it'll tip over, where everyone will get behind it, and when it does happen, that'll be a great thing. So now I'll get to move on to my next slide. Which is that, so Twiki, we launched a week ago, we've got lots of traffic, we've been doing really well. We've kind of become a place, I guess, for web developers to refer friends and family and clients that they can't help right now because it doesn't make economic sense for them to do small changes to their sites. We're building the team. We're basically two guys based upstairs. I've got to write this down. Upstairs in a shoebox, but we'll be expanding soon. We've got a designer. We're looking for Rails developers. We're looking for support staff. We're looking for marketing support as well. So if anybody is interested in taking a leap into the world of startup land and wants to work on fast growth startup that's well funded and supported by the guys, by one of the founders of 99 Designs, then you should come and go me for a chat afterwards. So yeah, that's Tweaky. Thanks.
So I've got one question. What made you bring the original idea, which I think was Theme Pivot, to Startup Weekend?
So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I'd actually I'd just come back from working on another startup project that was actually based in New York. I'd caught up with Lenny actually, funnily enough, about a week before I went. I said, Lenny, I'm going to New York. I'm going to work on a startup, and I'm not coming back. It's been real good. It's been real. I'll see you soon. No, I won't see you soon, but I did. And it didn't work out. We ended up coming back, and so I was looking for other collaborators in Melbourne. I kind of had a bit of an idea, which was this 99 Designs for CSS sort of thing. But really, I was just like, hey, I just want to work on an idea for a weekend. Maybe find somebody that I can work with longer term. I was running the agency, so I thought maybe I could find someone that could work on that. I just wanted to play with new ideas. I just knew that if I, just keep throwing energy at different ideas, eventually you'll find one that kind of sticks and that resonates with you, and that you think you can actually turn into something big. So that's why we took the Startup Weekend.
I heard about the site on Buy Into It in Triple R.
Oh right, yeah. Cool.
And they said something there that you have an algorithm behind the scenes that breaks up a tweak into how long it will take, etc., etc. And you didn't mention that, and that was the bit that I was most, firstly, fascinated by how you actually get that right. And I just wondered if that was even true, so you could mention it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there kind of is an algorithm, and his name is Ned right now. And so he works away for 12 hours a day breaking projects down. So what we do is so how the system works is that client comes along, I want to change the header on my website, and they put a brief into the homepage. That comes through to a concierge, which is me right now. And I basically take that and go, cool, that's going to be a tweak. But we get kind of bigger ones, and we're like, all right, that's 5 or 10 tweaks or 20 tweaks. That's 1 or 2 tweaks. Each tweak is $25. So we've got to kind of break it down enough into small enough pieces that makes financial sense for our web developers. But then what we do is we sort of do a bunch of things that other sort of outsourcing marketplaces don't do. We take a lot of ownership of the project by effectively what we're doing is we're writing a scope. And it's like an agile scope. We're saying each tweak is the same price. They're all $25, like a point in agile. And we're breaking it down and going, this is exactly what we're going to do in each of these. Then we get all the assets and the credentials out of the client. We ask the client, we suggest another idea. Oh, have you thought about optimizing for Android? Have you done something like that? And, we add a few extra tweaks in and they might want to buy. The client pays for the project up front. They give us all their credentials. We've got everything ready and packaged up into a nice little ball. And then a developer is able to jump on that project. They've got everything that they need to get to work there, and they just get to work. They just do their job.
One other quick follow-up question.
Go for it.
Because I know some people are freaked out by the 99 Design style model.
Yes.
So when you say $25 for a tweak,
yes,
resting the mind of any developers in the room, what do you constitute as a tweak taking? So what are they getting $25 for?
Yeah.
For 10 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour? Like what are they getting paid?
There isn't really a time that you can sort of put on any sort of tweak. The idea is that many tweaks will get done in an hour by the average developer. It's not 1 tweak per hour. That's not something that we want to be encouraging. Because we're setting the prices, we are controlling how much a tweak is worth. We're effectively controlling how much a developer is getting paid through that system. The idea is that different developers have got different abilities. So one developer might jump in there and go, I'm a gun WordPress guy, I'm particularly great at MailChimp integrations. So any tweaks that come through, they've got a MailChimp integration on, boom, I'll take that. I can knock out 5 of those in an hour maybe. But then there's some that are a little bit more complicated than that. And if that's not your skill set, then you're probably going to take you a little bit longer. So yeah, there's a lot of play there. Yeah, we can't just say, oh yeah, a tweak is going to take you 5 minutes or it's going to take you an hour. Yeah.
How do you control security? Like you're linking up a lot of people
that could have unscrupulous kind of goals with a lot of people that really don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, are you talking about the clients or the?
What happens when that plays back and you've got some Russian hackers in there, like, you know, all sorts of stuff in.
Yeah, so we're so there's a number of different things we're doing to sort of combat that sort of security issue. First of all, like, I guess we're taking a lot of steps already above and beyond what the existing marketplaces are doing, where you can just find anybody, right? There's no sort of filter in. So you have to apply to become a developer in our marketplace. We hand pick developers out of our application pool. Then once you become a developer, so we check your creds and all that sort of stuff and suss you out first before you come in. Then once you're a developer, we're really rigid about kicking people out who are in there who are either not performing or who are not up to scratch or, you know, unscrupulous effectively. We're also working on some deeper sort of security integrations and stuff like that around staging and backups and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely something we're aware of. We've got a mechanism for the efficient transfer, encrypted transfer of credentials between the client and the developer. So we're sort of blocking that kind of issue that I think is kind of not happening on other marketplaces or even with any regular web developer, right? They're like, cool, email me your passwords. You know, it's your dog's name, great. Can I go into your Gmail with that? Awesome. You know, so we're actually hiding that sort of stuff and encrypting that a little bit better. But yeah, it's definitely something we're aware of.
With WordPress, would it be possible to build like a plugin that would only give people X amount of...
We actually built that.
Yeah.
And we spent way too much time on it. And I think we'll come back to it, like it's still sitting there on the shelf. And actually what we're able to do is generate, create a staging version from the client side, effectively create a security layer between the client and the developer, and they'll never have the client's passwords and credentials and logins and stuff like that. The problem is that, you know, everyone's got different hosting requirements, which has got different write permissions and things like that. Everyone's got a different version of WordPress they're running and different plugins, and there's a whole lot of pain points there which we can fix. We'll come back to it, but we're not working on it right now.
More questions?
Yeah, so sort of leading on to that last question, so when it comes to version control,
Yep.
I'd imagine there'd be a lot of people that come to you, they've got a site that's being pushed live, the developer's long gone, there was never any GitHub or repository or SVN or whatnot. So how do you handle that? So say, from what you're saying, you've got a guy that's a gun at a certain part of WordPress. So you're saying that 5 guys might make up one total job?
No, we're not doing that. So we do play around with that idea, but it's a nightmare. It's very complex to get multiple developers working the same code base. Most of these, like I said, they don't have any version control set up.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily make sense anyway. Like we're generally making kind of small changes, and want to happen quick. So effectively, what happens is that when the developer walks up to a project, or when a developer sees the project in the queue, and they find one that's kind of attractive to them, they can grab it and start working right then and there.
Yeah.
So it's about. I think it's kind of the sort of thing that will appeal a lot to like location-independent travelers and things like that. Like, if you're a developer, you're in an internet cafe, you've got like half an hour. You can pull a tweak out and do that right now. Like, you don't need to interact with the client too much. There's a concierge that's managing that relationship. So the idea of having multiple developers, I think, is just going to create too much complexity for the project.
So are you knocking back any jobs because, okay, there's some very specific workflows and jobs here, and unless there's we would need multiple guys to handle this.
I knocked one back this morning. There was a JavaScript HTML CSS site, and there was like the guy. We got it. The project was we were doing the project. It was like in the system, and it had been broken down, lots of the stuff, and the developer was on there, and the guy goes, "Look, just make sure you keep a local version because there's 3 other guys working on this, and one of them just pushed a whole heap of code last night, and I don't want to overwrite." And I was like, sorry, bro, we're out of this. Like, you know,
it's not really the model for you,
yeah, we're not the model for you, and we're not the model for everyone. That's the thing, and we know that. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
At what point is a tweak complete? Like somebody finishes it, then push the code to you. They say it's finished, and then what if the client says, "Well, it's orange, not the right orange." Like, what's the process?
So there's a bit of back and forth there, and it's the same with any sort of client relationship thing. You know, the idea behind the tweak is that we're so clearly defining what the actual unit of work is. We haven't really had too many issues around that sort of stuff, like, it's not quite like orange or RL, like generally sort of get it right. But, you know, time to time that sort of thing will come up and we'll sort of solve that, so, yeah.
Any
Cool.
more questions?
Yeah. Is there any testing or QA going through from your end?
Not at the moment, so we think we'll probably bring some QA into it at some point, but not at this stage, so it's all just by the client. There is in terms of the client's encouraged to, you know, review all the work as it comes in and to do all that sort of stuff and check box, yeah, cool, I'm happy with this, that, you know, I wanted you to make this work on this particular browser or these particular browsers, yes, I verify this has been done, cool, Dev gets paid,
For refunds and guarantees, nothing like that?
100% money back guarantee. In fact, we've kind of got this 200% money back guarantee policy going at the moment, which is that if the developer is doing the work on the project and through no fault of their own, the client's not happy. The client's not happy, right? But the developer shouldn't get punished for that because the client's not happy. Like, sometimes there's process, sometimes there's learning, sometimes there's whatever. Client gets their money back, developer still gets paid. But I guess the counter to that is obviously that we're also, if we do have a consistent problem with a particular developer, then that's just not going to work out. So, yeah.
Oh, well, it sounds like you're going to have some awesome scaling problems to solve over the next couple of years. I can tell you that right now, but those are good problems, and it's an interesting project. Thanks, cheers, thanks, Dave.